I'm on a mission. Yes, on a mission to find how people keep well. What does it really mean to keep well? We all know why we have to keep well, don't we? How do you keep well? Today's fast-paced world means we often get caught up with the daily grind. We struggle to develop or maintain practices that help to maintain our well-being. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed by the constant demands and pressure. It's so easy to get distracted, isn't it, and end up doing exactly what we know we shouldn't be doing. Having easy to digest information to guide and remind you to keep well can make a world of difference. Consider me to be your dedicated well-being partner, cheering you to achieve big dreams and goals, which is only possible by keeping yourself well, living a happy, healthy, and meaningful life. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again for this episode. And I have a wonderful guest with me. This is someone who I greatly admire from a distance and from near as well. She's Dr. Omon Imohi, and she's going to introduce herself to us in a moment. But I want you to know something about my guest today. She is a very passionate and a very dynamic GP. I got to know her about 3 years ago to start with. And since then, I have received from her a lot of nuggets of life, which has helped me in my journey to where I am today. So please listen to her. She's got a heart of gold. She's a woman with a mission and a vision. And I do hope you're going to learn some great things from her this evening. So hello, Dr. Omon. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I'm very grateful you've joined us today. And I want you to tell us a bit more about yourself. You wear so many hats and you have so many responsibilities. So I'm just keen to hear about you and your background a bit more.
Thanks, Dr. Jai. Omon Imohi. First and foremost, I'm a child of God. And
Yes.
I'm a daughter to my parents, a wife to my husband, and a mother to 2 lovely boys. I'm a GP and I currently practice in Merseyside. I do other things outside of seeing my patients. I do a lot of advocacy work. I am one of the co-leads for EDI in my faculty, Mersey faculty. I am the vice chair of the Mersey faculty board, and I'm also a council member for the Royal College of GP. I'm the founder of Black Women in Health, a non-profit organization for Black female healthcare professionals in the UK, for us to promote and empower ourselves to achieve maximum professional and personal excellence.
Excellent.
I also
Thank
do
you.
health content creation as well. Thank
Oh
you.
gosh, yes. You should. I mean, if you haven't seen some of the content that has been produced by BWIH, you should go for and look for them on Instagram. I joined that platform 3 years ago and my life has not remained the same ever since then. And one of the highlights of about maybe 2 years ago, was it, Dr. Amon, when you did that masterclass for us? January for the beginning of the year. It really was a beautiful thing. And I think that's where my journey started, actually, where I started believing in looking after yourself in terms of your personal growth and professional excellence. In particular, just accepting the term leadership. And that's what I've really, really learned from you. And I'm just so grateful you've come this day to talk to my listeners. So with your background, obviously you place a lot of emphasis on personal growth, professional development. And one of the things I've learned from you is something called ikigai, which I hope you'll be able to talk to us a bit later on. But tell me a bit more. When you know your efforts kind of impact people and give them a profound sense of fulfillment, now, how do you think it helps you feel well? How does it make you feel on the inside?
Okay, so as human beings, whenever we make a positive impact in the life of other people, it can be incredibly fulfilling and rewarding. That's to anybody, not just me. And there are many things that can make you feel fulfilled when you impact other people's lives. And for me, there are a few things I like about this feeling that I get. So, and of course, it makes me feel well. It makes me feel fulfilled. And I would say the first thing I would say is about purpose. Okay. I know that when I personally do something that I feel is impactful in the life of other people, my patients, my colleagues, peers, friends, or family, and I feel like I'm contributing to their well being or to their progress, I always feel a deep sense of purpose and meaning to my life. Like I always tell my friends and people that know me, and even Black women in health, ladies, that every single one of us is created for a purpose. We are here for a reason. And I always feel that our purpose is connected to other people and other people's lives and is greater than ourselves. So when I can make positive impact in the life of others, it makes me feel very purposeful. It makes me feel that I've got a purpose and I'm fulfilling my purpose. Another thing it does for me is that it helps me connect with people. When you're advocating for your patients or colleagues or trying to make a change in any aspect of life or any work of life, really, it makes you foster a sense of empathy and connection. So you get connected and you bond with the people you are trying to create an impact in their life. And this connection can lead to a feeling of unity or shared experience. For example, if you have it, when I connect with my mentees and I'm teaching them or I'm helping them or guiding them or even cheering them on, and it reminds me of the path I've told as well. I've been through that as a junior doctor, for example, and now they are going through it and I can guide them through it, share my experience. It helps us bond and it creates connection. So that's another thing I get from it. One other very important thing I get from the feeling I get that helps me feel well with myself is personal growth. There is no how that you impact other people that you yourself don't grow. You learn. So every time you try to do something new to impact people, if you decide to take a project to sort out a problem or to be the solution to something, you find out that you yourself, you learn, you develop new skills, you adapt to new changes, and all of these skills and adaptations you do helps you grow. I'll give you a very good example. When I started Black Women in Health, I had to do a lot of things. I had to learn new things. So I was going to build I wanted us to have a website, but I couldn't really afford to pay someone to do it then because it was quite expensive and it was not part of my budget for that period. So I went online and said, I'm sure I can actually learn how to build a website. And I struggled and learned and started from scratch, went to GoDaddy, bought the domain, bought the hosting, and started building, putting pictures, putting words. And today, the website is still functioning. It's still live since 2019. So
That's incredible.
it tells you that you learn when you help other people. You learn when you're trying to make a change, when you're trying to be the change. So I learned a lot of skills. I learned a lot of tech skills due to that. I literally create all our posters and our marketing materials for Black Women in Health. And I learned all these things because I felt I needed to be able to contribute in that way without spending too much money. Another thing you get is validation.
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah. Another thing I get from it is obviously you get validation. And when you do something impactful and you see the results, like someone's life changes or there's a change at work, the practice of your colleagues change, or there's implementation of something that's lacking funding, you feel validated. You feel like all your effort is not in vain. And if you get recognized for it as well or appreciated for it, it also gives you a sense of fulfillment and it makes you feel happy. And when you're happy, you feel well. Happiness improves your well-being. And I think the last thing I'll say, it does.
It is an important pillar in well-being, definitely. And
exactly.
I quite like what you said there about the moral boosting effect of knowing that what you've done is having an impact on not just your colleagues, but your community. And beyond that validation, I think when you say validation, what you really want to tell me is that you feel really a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing fully well that what you've done is having such a positive impact on your colleagues and your community. And I think that's incredible. One of the pictures I see sometimes is with when it is in Christmas, when we're having the Christian Girls service where people light candles and then one person lights a candle and everybody else gets their candle lit from that candle. It's always such a big thing. And then there's light everywhere. And from my point of perspective, I feel well-being is like that. When you can light other people's candle, then at some point the whole community is lit just because you have found light.
Perfectly.
And that's why I keep
Exactly.
saying to people that well-being is like having light in your soul and passing that light down to others. And I actually love what you said about that feeling of purpose and that connection that you get with people, that learning. And those are things that we talk about with the 5 steps in well-being, especially mental well-being. So what I hear is that when you do all these things, your well-being is boosted. You feel well, your
Trust.
morale is
Yeah.
boosted,
Yeah.
your happiness is boosted. And
Yeah.
it's like a positive feedback effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's very important to note that this experience of fulfillment can vary from person to person, but obviously it
Yeah.
depends on or is influenced by their beliefs, their values, personal circumstances. But I like what you said about the candle. And there's a very popular quote I like by Margaret Mead, which says that your candle loses nothing when you light another. So
Oh,
when you're
wow, that's
impactful to other,
beautiful.
your candle loses nothing. And you
Mm,
overall, the act of positively impacting other people brings this profound sense of purpose, joy,
mm,
satisfaction, and fulfillment. Even if you're not getting
mm,
any rewards or any awards or recognition, you
mm.
are contributing to a better world, and that alone makes you feel
Yes,
better yourself. And if you look at it this
yes.
way, and the way I tend to look at it is that every impact I make and my action is leaving a positive legacy that I want to outlive me. Basically, I
Mm,
want the things I
mm.
do to outlive me and make other people's
Just-
life better. And just that thought alone will make you feel happy and fulfilled.
It does.
And
It feels like
what's
you can't submerge a balloon in water completely. And
exactly
that feeling of buoyancy, like you feel like you're walking in air sometimes, even though if you're physically tired doing some of these things, but just that joy from inside. And that's another thing I feel that well-being comes from the inside, not
from inside?
necessarily
Yeah,
just the outside. It's a
yeah,
combination of both, but again, it's just something that comes from the inside. I love it. I'm so glad I got you to talk about this for me. One of the things I feel living a life of meaning, a life of purpose, is that your stress level drops in a nice way. I don't know,
true, true.
you feel that because you're making such a positive impact on people, even if you're stressed with so many other things, just that feeling of fulfillment makes you feel relaxed, makes you feel very
Exactly.
happy.
Yeah.
What do you think about stress generally and handling stress when you're living a life of purpose and fulfillment?
To be honest, it's not, life will come with stress. Life will, even sometimes without you even seeking stress, seeking it, it will come without you, with you even trying to do everything to make sure that you're well organized, things flow well.
Mm,
There will always
mm,
be an element of stress. It might be from work, it might be family, it might be from every different aspect. But I think the first thing to
mm,
do is to be able to recognize when you're stressed, especially
mm,
if you're getting stressed to a point that is leading to burnout. It can be at home or at work, but once you're stressed and it starts to affect work or your family life or your relationship with others, then it's a time to
mm,
step back and look within and start to think of steps to distress. Okay, so for me,
mm.
distressing, obviously everyone distresses in different ways, but for me there are little things
Yes.
I do to help me to distress. One of the things I like to do when I'm really stressed or when I'm moody or when I find myself in a situation where I don't even know what to do, I just listen to music. I like to listen to
Yeah.
music, and sometimes I
Yeah.
also listen to motivational messages just to boost me and
Mm,
lift my
mm,
mood up. I'm a
mm.
Christian, so I listen to Christian music that might be related to how I'm feeling at that time. And I just want to hear
Yes.
those words telling me you can go on, you can do it, everything is going to
Yes.
be fine, God is in control, those kind of
Yes.
things. So for
Yes.
me, that lifts me up. It helps me to distress. Another thing I tend to
Mm.
do, finding that I'm getting really stressed, I take time off. I take time off things. Sometimes I do a
Yes.
social media detox. So earlier this year, I went off for like
Yes.
almost 2 months or 3 months because I was doing other things.
Mm.
I found I was doing too many things. So I just went off social media. I logged out of everything for a while. A few
Yes.
people were like, "Are you okay?" and all that. But I was
What's
like, "Yeah,
going
I'm fine.
on?
Just need this time off." So I just logged out of everything and let me just be in the real world. see what's happening in the real
Yes.
world and deal with that. And then other things I do is I like the spa. So I once in a while I book myself to go to the spa and have a massage and just have a good spa
Yes.
day. It could be with alone or with
It's
friends or
really
whatever.
relaxing. I had one recently and I thought, why haven't I done this before?
It's necessary.
Mm, mm.
And sometimes even little things in your own house, taking a warm bath, put on a scented
Yes.
candle, soft music, and
Yes.
just put yourself in the bath and just relax. And I
Yes.
find having a corner in the house where you can just go to whenever the kids are everywhere and everyone is just
Yes.
in your face and you just want to go somewhere quiet and just be on your own. And sometimes even
Absolutely.
journaling, writing down how I feel at that moment
Yes.
and the things that are worrying
Yes.
me and what I'm hoping would be
Yes.
the outcome. So those type of things help
Yes.
me to distress. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm quite fascinated at how you keep well, and I have learned so much just by talking with you this evening. One of the things you've talked about journaling is something you've taught me actually, and I do it even now. And a lot of the things I have written, even when I was doing some of those master classes with you, I go back to read them, and I find
Okay.
them really helpful. And one of the ways I use journaling as well is using it as a gratitude journal. I write things
Yeah.
and I still do it now. I always write in my journal, my gratitude journal, at least once every week. I set time aside to write things down that I'm really grateful for. And I find that sometimes when life comes quite overwhelming, just setting that time aside to just be grateful for those things that have gone well makes a huge difference to our mental well-being and emotional well-being. How do you manage with your journaling? Do you do it regularly? How do you do it?
I journal regularly. So, of course, there will be days when it's a bit hectic and chaotic and I can't,
Yes.
but I try to be intentional about journaling all the time. And the way I do it as well is exactly what you've said. I maintain a gratitude journal. Of course, life is full of ups and downs, and there will be good days and bad days. But I think the most important thing is to always remember what we have. Because when
Yes.
you're grateful, what you have, no matter how small it is, will always feel like it's enough. And sometimes in
Mm,
life we overlook what we have because we are
mm,
striving for more. And okay, you
mm.
have a vision board, you've written everything you want to you all I want to achieve this year. And sometimes it's easy to just overlook what you already have, what's already going on well in your life. For
Yeah.
example, your
Ab-
health. You're hale and hearty,
Yeah.
the kids are well, you can pay your
Yes.
bills, you've got a roof over your
Mm,
head, you've got food to eat,
mm.
clothes to wear. They might not be designer's brand or the latest fashion, but you've got to wear, you know. So it's just looking at things like that. I remembered it was just 2 weeks ago, I was driving to work, and it was one of those days that was actually a bit summery. This summer has not been summery at all, but it was one of those days
No.
when bright. The skies were blue and beautiful. And I
Mm,
was driving to
mm.
work and I was like, God, look at how beautiful the world is. You've created this world so beautifully. And while I was just doing that, I just started to think, and I was like, wow, this was the end of July. And I was like, wow, it's just almost the end of the seventh month in this year. And almost everything I prayed for at the beginning of this year and I was wishing for, that my family was praying for, so many things
Yeah.
have happened like in the
Up
space of
happened.
7 months. And when I started to recount all the things that have happened, my siblings' testimonies, my personal one, my
Yeah.
husband, my parents, and I'm like,
Yep.
gosh, so much has happened. Like we
Mm.
sometimes we're focusing on so many other goals and targets we have to meet that we
Yes.
we we miss out
Yes.
when the things happen. And for me, it
Mm.
sometimes happens because as a Christian, you're praying for things and praying, and suddenly they happen, but you don't even notice when they happen. But things just fall in
Absolutely.
line. And I just
Yes.
think, oh my gosh, so much has
Yes.
happened in 7 months. I can't imagine what will happen for the remaining 5 to 6 months of this year. And it was just like, wow. And if you think
As
about
in,
life like that and see the beauty of life, then
mm,
the way you see life
I,
matters. Is
I agree completely. And there is this study I was reading about which showed people who kind of connected with nature quite regularly.
Mhm.
And more, the more they connected with nature, whether by walking or just being out there, doing things outdoors, more and more they had this sense of awe and wonder. And you begin to find that in a way, in a nice way, shrink yourself down a little bit more in order to appreciate what things you have a bit better.
Exactly.
So
True.
in a way, this sense of awe kind of helps to improve well-being. And that's
Yeah.
why I always like telling people, kind of learn to connect a bit more with nature. Looking at the skies, look up at the skies, just seeing that color of blue and even just the green colors in nature can begin to stimulate this sense of
It does.
gratitude. And
It
it's
does.
just
And
incredible. I can't
happiness.
explain it. It is.
Yeah.
And this is all part of why I say well-being is not just the absence of disease. People can
No.
have a number of health conditions, but they can still
Exactly.
choose to be happy. You can
Exactly.
have such a stressful life, but you can still choose to be happy, still choose to be intentional, and choose to appreciate those little things around you. And this all adds
Yeah.
up to well being. One of the things you've also mentioned, Dr. Omon, is the fact that you created time for yourself. And there's something called time affluence, whereby you just decide that, look, between so and so hours, I'm just going to have time for myself and not do
Exactly.
anything at all. I'm going to cut out all the distractions. I'm going to make sure that I focus on the things I need to focus on for that point in time and cut out all distraction. I think this another thing, a very important aspect of well-being that we need to begin to help people understand that, yeah, you can run around for so many different things, but if you don't learn to create that time for yourself, no one will create it for you. Is that right? What do you
Absolutely.
think about?
Absolutely. Self care is not selfish. Self care is
Absolutely.
very essential. I always say that an empty jug can't pour. So you need to be
Mm,
filled up yourself to be able to pour out
mm,
into the life of other people, to be able to give yourself your best self at work, at home, to your friends, to your
mm,
relationships. You need to be well cared for by yourself for yourself as well. So self care is very
mm.
essential. It makes us more efficient. That's just it.
Yes, definitely. I agree completely. It makes us more productive when you take time out to
Exactly.
rest. And sometimes I say to people, you have to have a power nap, not more than 15 minutes during the day, because then you wake up, you really feel quite productive for the rest of the day. But it's
Hmm.
just getting that balance right, I think. Also,
Exactly.
people not putting so much pressure on themselves, like, oh, I need to do
True.
this, I need to do that, especially when it comes to health related matters. There's so much voices out there. But really, my aim is to help people understand that, yes, you can keep well, you can remain well, but you have to choose to be intentional.
That's the
And
word,
also,
intentionality.
intentional is such a big word, isn't it? But it's got so much power
Yes.
in it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've learned from you that living a meaningful life is a bit of self discovery, a bit of
Hmm.
taking time out for yourself, a bit of self care, and getting that balance right is really important. Now, we're nearly
Very.
coming to the end of this podcast. I
Okay.
love BWIH so much, and I know there are things coming up in the next couple of months. Would you like to tell us maybe one or two things about BWIH before we finish today?
Oh, Black Women in Health is a
Yes.
um, it's a non-profit organization for all Black women in healthcare in the UK: nurses, doctor, dentists, pharmacists, other allied healthcare professional, any medical, nursing, pharmacy students. And it's a place where we just meet to connect, engage, empower ourselves, celebrate ourselves, and build ourselves up. So I'll invite any Black healthcare female professional in the UK to join us because you will not regret it. I think that's all
Definitely.
I've
And there
talked too
is a
much about Black
conference
women
coming
in
up
health.
soon, isn't there, in October?
Yeah. Our fifth annual leadership conference is coming up soon on the 14th of October this year in the vibrant city of Liverpool. It's not something you should miss. You have to be there to witness. It's like our conferences are not like the usual conference you attend. So if you've never been to one of the Black
Mm.
Women in Health conferences before, please make it a date this year. And if you've been to one, you already know how it goes. So make sure you don't miss
How
this
it
year as well.
feels?
And well, you
Definitely,
can find us on
definitely
Eventbrite. Yeah, just register on Eventbrite.
on Eventbrite. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Omon, for coming to How Do You Keep Well podcast. I've learned so much from you this evening. I've taken a lot of notes. Now, tell us, I'm going to put on the podcast notes some of the nuggets you've dropped for us this evening. But is there any one or two passing words or passing lessons you would like to give us before we finish today?
Okay, you mentioned about the ikigai before, although we don't really have much time to talk about it, but just briefly, ikigai just is a Japanese concept that translates to a reason for being, a reason to wake up in the morning. It's a framework that helps people to find a sense of purpose, fulfillment, and meaning in their lives. And it just involves four main elements: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. So my take home for everyone is that you should be practicing ikigai. You should have a reason for being. You should have a reason for being alive. You should have a reason for waking up in the morning. There should be something that drives you, that makes you want to jump up every morning and take over the world like Pinky and the Brain, but not really, but just something that keeps you going and bubbling and bouncing off your bed in the morning. And it's very important that as part of keeping your well-being and your mental health intact, you're doing what you love. And when you're doing what you love, most times you find out is that it's something that you're really good at. It's something that will be your purpose, something that you're passionate about, something that's your strength, your talent, your gifts, your skills. And it's definitely going to be something the world needs, because most times when you're doing something purposeful, it's always needed by someone. You're solving a problem. You're being the solution to a problem. And wrap it up by making sure you're creating value. And if you're creating value, most likely you'll be getting paid for it. So remember that finding your ikigai is a journey in itself, but it requires self-awareness, exploration, and just the general sense of being intentional with aligning your inner desires with what the world wants and looking out to make a difference. Okay. And in dealing with managing your well-being, always prioritize yourself. Always prioritize yourself, because once you are okay, you are your greatest asset. Once you're okay, you will be able to take care of your home, your work, your spiritual life, your financial life. You'll be able to engage in your community, and you'll be able to engage in your physical and mental health, and make sure it's fine as well. Because we didn't talk about I think there are 8 dimensions of well-being. And it just and it just encompasses everything. Because if mentally you're well, physically you're well, and you can engage in your community, and you can be productive at work, you'll be financially okay, and everything will work out fine. So it just starts with the mind. We're not talking about mindset here today, but it starts with the mind, how you see yourself, and being intentional about making sure that you are keeping yourself well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I completely agree with you that when you begin to align your value with what the world needs, you will find a lot of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, and you feel like you're living a meaningful life. And that by itself makes you feel very content and happy. We've talked about happiness here today. Thank you very much, Dr. Omon. I really appreciate you honoring me today and coming on this podcast. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
Bye. I'll catch up with you.